I've spent most of my life believing that biology matters less than love, that the bonds we choose are stronger than the ones written in our DNA. But standing in the driveway of my childhood home in Seattle, watching my stepfather load boxes into a moving truck while my siblings stood silently behind the living room window, I wondered if I'd been fooling myself all along. My name is Rachel Turner, and I'm 48 years old. The man loading that truck, the one my brother and sister had just disowned, was the only father I'd ever really known, and I was about to make a choice that would either heal my family or destroy what little remained of it. It started 3 months earlier, on a rainy Tuesday morning in September. I was in my small office at the community college where I taught English composition, grading essays about personal transformation, when my phone rang. It was my younger sister, Jennifer. "Rachel, we need to talk about Dad," she said, her voice tight with an emotion I couldn't quite identify. Anger, maybe, or betrayal. "What's wrong? Is he okay?" My heart immediately jumped to health concerns. David Morrison was 69, and though he seemed healthy, I always worried. "He's fine physically," Jennifer said, "but I found something he's been hiding from all of us for years." She refused to say more over the phone, insisting I come to her house in Bellevue that evening. When I arrived, I found not just Jennifer but our brother Marcus waiting for me. Their faces were grave, and spread across Jennifer's dining room table were documents, photographs, and what looked like bank statements. "Dad has another family," Marcus said without preamble. "Or he did, years ago before he married Mom." I sat down slowly, trying to process his words. David had married our mother, Patricia, 35 years ago. I was 13 at the time, and my biological father had left when I was 5. David had adopted me legally a year after the wedding. He'd been Dad ever since. The man who taught me to drive, who walked me down the aisle at my wedding, who held me when my marriage fell apart 6 years later. Jennifer pushed a photograph across the table. It showed a much younger David, maybe in his early 30s, with his arm around a woman I didn't recognize. She was petite and blonde, smiling at the camera. Between them stood a little girl, perhaps 4 years old, with David's distinctive gray eyes. "Her name was Linda," Jennifer said. "His first wife. They got married when he was 24. The daughter's name is Emma. She would be 41 now." "How did you find this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Marcus leaned forward. "I was helping Dad with his computer last week. He asked me to transfer some files to his new laptop. I accidentally opened the wrong folder and found hundreds of documents. Divorce papers from 1986, child support payment records, letters." "Letters," I repeated. Jennifer nodded, her expression hardening. "Letters from Emma, from when she was a teenager, asking why he never visited, why he stopped calling, why he abandoned her." She paused. "He never responded to a single one." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. This didn't sound like the David I knew, the man who'd shown up to every school play, every parent-teacher conference, the man who'd supported me through my divorce even though his own son and daughter had sided with my ex-husband, saying I'd given up too easily. "There has to be more to the story," I said. "Did you ask him about it?" "We confronted him yesterday," Marcus said, his jaw tight. "He admitted everything. Said Linda left him and took Emma to California. Said she made it impossible for him to see his daughter. Turned Emma against him. But Rachel, we read those letters. Emma was begging for a relationship with him. Whatever happened with Linda, he chose to walk away from his own child." Jennifer's eyes were wet with angry tears. "How can we trust anything he's told us? Our whole lives, he presented himself as this devoted father figure, but he abandoned his real daughter. What does that say about who he really is?" "It says he made mistakes," I said quietly. "It says he's human." Marcus shook his head. "It's more than a mistake, Rachel. It's a fundamental character flaw. He erased this child from his life and never told us she existed. Not when he married Mom. Not when he adopted you. Never." We argued for another hour. Jennifer and Marcus had already decided they were done with David. They'd told him the previous day that they no longer considered him their father, that they needed space to process his betrayal. They wanted me to join them in cutting him off. "He needs to understand there are consequences," Jennifer said. "He needs to face what he's done." But I couldn't agree. Not yet. Not without hearing his side of the story. I drove to David's house that night. He still lived in the same modest ranch-style home in Shoreline where we'd grown up, though he'd been alone since our mother passed away 4 years earlier. When he opened the door, I could see he'd been crying. His eyes were red-rimmed, his face drawn with exhaustion. "They told you," he said simply. "They told me," I confirmed. "Can I come in?" We sat in his kitchen, the same kitchen where he'd taught me to make pancakes on Saturday mornings, where we'd done homework together, where he'd listened to me cry about my failed marriage while making pot after pot of coffee. "Tell me what happened," I said. "Tell me everything." David stared into his coffee mug for a long moment before speaking. "I met Linda when I was 23. She was beautiful and full of life, and I thought I'd found my forever. We got married too young, too fast. Emma was born a year later, and I loved that little girl more than I thought possible." His voice cracked, and he paused to collect himself. "But Linda and I were terrible together. We fought constantly, about money, about her family, about everything. When Emma was 4, Linda told me she wanted a divorce. She'd met someone else, a lawyer from San Francisco. She was moving to California with Emma, and there was nothing I could do to stop her. "But the letters," I said gently. "Emma's letters. Why didn't you respond?" "Because I was a coward," he said, the words coming out harsh and raw. "Linda had poisoned Emma against me during the divorce, told her I didn't want them anymore, that I cared more about my job than my family. The custody battle was brutal, Rachel. I tried to get joint custody, but Linda's lawyer destroyed me in court, painted me as an absent father, a workaholic who'd neglected his family." He stood up and walked to the window, his back to me. "I got visitation rights, but every time I tried to exercise them, Linda would find a way to interfere. She'd schedule trips during my weekends. She'd tell Emma I'd canceled. After 2 years of fighting, of spending every penny I had on lawyers just to see my daughter for a few supervised hours a month, I broke." "You gave up," I said softly. "I gave up," he admitted, turning to face me. Tears streamed down his face. "When Emma started writing to me, she was 13. The letters were full of anger and hurt, and I knew anything I said would sound like excuses. Linda had convinced her I was the villain, and maybe I was. Maybe I should have fought harder. But I was drowning, Rachel. I was depressed, barely functioning. I thought Emma would be better off without a father who was falling apart." "So you started over," I said, understanding dawning. "You met Mom and started fresh." He nodded. "Patricia saved my life. She was patient and kind, and she had you 3 kids who needed a father figure. I thought I could redeem myself by being the father to you, all that I'd failed to be for Emma. I thought I could make up for my mistakes. But you never told Mom about Emma?" "I did," he said, surprising me. "I told your mother everything before we got married. She knew about Linda and Emma. She encouraged me to try to reconnect, but by then, Emma was 18 and wanted nothing to do with me. She'd returned all my letters unopened. Patricia and I decided that if Emma ever reached out, we'd welcome her. But otherwise, we'd let her live her life without dragging her into painful memories." I sat with this information, trying to reconcile it with what Jennifer and Marcus had told me. "They feel betrayed," I said finally. "Jenny and Marcus, they feel like you lied to them." "I know," David said miserably, "and they have every right to feel that way. I should have told them years ago. I should have told all of you. But the longer I waited, the harder it became. And honestly, I was ashamed. I didn't want you kids to know what a failure I'd been as a father the first time around." We talked until past midnight. David told me about his attempts over the years to find Emma, to learn what had become of her. He discovered through social media that she was a veterinarian in Sacramento, married with 2 children of her own. He'd wanted to reach out so many times, but convinced himself she was better off without him disrupting her life. "Do you regret it?" I asked as I was leaving. "Giving up on Emma?" "Every single day," he whispered. "It's the biggest regret of my life. But Rachel, I need you to understand something. My failure with Emma doesn't diminish my love for you and Jennifer and Marcus. You 3 gave me a second chance at fatherhood, and I've tried every day to be worthy of that chance." I drove home that night with my head spinning. I understood my siblings' anger and sense of betrayal, but I also understood David's pain, his regret, his very human failures. Unlike Jennifer and Marcus, who were David's biological children from his marriage to our mother, I'd been adopted into this family. I knew what it meant to be chosen, and I knew that choice mattered more than biology. Over the next few weeks, the divide in our family deepened. Jennifer and Marcus refused to speak to David. They uninvited him from Thanksgiving, erased him from family photos on social media, and made it clear they wanted nothing to do with him. Jennifer even started referring to him by his first name instead of Dad, which felt like the cruelest cut of all. I tried to mediate, to help them see David's perspective, but they wouldn't budge. "You always were his favorite," Marcus said bitterly during one argument. "Of course you're taking his side." "I'm not taking sides," I protested. "I'm trying to hold this family together." "Some things can't be held together," Jennifer said coldly. "Some things are too broken to fix." But I refused to believe that. Maybe it was because I'd already survived one broken family. Maybe it was because David had been there for me when my own biological father had walked away. Whatever the reason, I couldn't give up on him. I started visiting David twice a week. We'd have dinner together, watch old movies, talk about everything and nothing. He was lonely and heartbroken, and I could see the weight of his regrets crushing him. But more than that, I could see that he was the same man who'd raised me. Flawed, yes, haunted by his past, certainly, but still kind, still caring, still trying his best. One evening in November, I made a suggestion. "Have you ever thought about trying to contact Emma now? As an adult, not a father asking for forgiveness, but just as someone acknowledging the past?" David looked skeptical. "She's made it clear she doesn't want me in her life." "That was 20 years ago," I said. "People change. Maybe she'd be willing to at least hear from you. Not for you, but for her, so she can have closure, or answers, or whatever she needs." He was quiet for a long time. What would I even say? "The truth," I said. "What you told me. That you failed her, that you're sorry, and that you've thought about her every day. That you don't expect forgiveness, but you want her to know she was loved." It took David 3 weeks to write the letter. I helped him revise it, making sure it didn't sound like he was making excuses or asking for anything in return. We found Emma's address through a colleague of mine who was good with online research, and in early December, David mailed the letter. Neither of us expected a response. But 2 weeks later, David called me, his voice shaking. "She wrote back," he said. Emma wrote back. I rushed over to his house. The letter was short, just 1 page, but the words were carefully chosen. Emma acknowledged receiving his letter and his apology. She said she'd spent years angry at him, then years trying not to care, and finally, years in therapy, working through her abandonment issues. She didn't forgive him, not yet, but she was willing to talk if he was serious about making amends. She included her phone number. David and Emma talked for the first time in 35 years on a snowy evening in January. I wasn't there for that first conversation, but David told me about it later. They talked for 2 hours, sharing their lives, their memories, their pain. Emma told him about her mother's death 5 years earlier from cancer, and how it had made her realize that life was too short to carry anger. David told her about our mother, about me and Jennifer and Marcus, about the family he'd built while missing her every day. It wasn't reconciliation, not yet, but it was a beginning. I thought this would help Jennifer and Marcus see that David was trying to make amends, that he was facing his past. Instead, it seemed to make them angrier. "Now he wants to play happy family with the daughter he abandoned?" Jennifer said when I told her. "What about us? What about the family he actually raised?" "You're pushing him away," I said. "Can't you see that?" "He pushed Emma away first," Marcus countered. "We're just showing him what that feels like." The final break came in March. David had arranged to meet Emma in person for the first time in Sacramento. It was a huge step, and he was terrified. I offered to go with him for support, and he gratefully accepted. Jennifer and Marcus found out about the trip and were furious. "You're really choosing him over us?" Jennifer demanded when she called me the night before David and I were supposed to leave. "I'm not choosing anyone over anyone," I said, exhausted by months of fighting. "I'm supporting someone I love through a difficult time. Why does that have to mean I'm against you?" "Because you're enabling him," Marcus cut in. He was on speakerphone. "You're letting him off the hook for his choices. He should be alone with his guilt, not getting a redemption tour." "He's 69 years old," I said, my voice rising. "He's spent 35 years carrying this guilt. At what point is enough enough? When is he allowed to try to make things right?" "Never," Jennifer said flatly. "Some mistakes don't get fixed." That's when I knew I'd lost them, at least for now. David and I drove down to Sacramento the next morning. The meeting with Emma took place at a quiet cafe near her veterinary practice. She was petite like her mother in the photographs, but she had David's eyes and his gentle manner. She brought her husband, Tom, for support, and he was kind but protective, keeping a watchful eye on his wife's emotional state. The conversation was stilted at first. full of long pauses and careful words. But gradually, they found their rhythm. Emma told stories about growing up, about her career, about her children. David shared photos of me and Jennifer and Marcus as kids, and I saw Emma's expression soften as she looked at them. "You had a second chance at being a father," she said quietly. "Were you happy?" "Yes," David said honestly. "But not a day went by that I didn't think about you. Not a single day." We stayed in Sacramento for 3 days. Emma invited us to her home, and we met her children, David's grandchildren that he'd never known existed. There was no magical instant healing, no tearful reunion movie scene, but there was something more valuable: honest conversation, truth-telling, the slow, painful work of building a bridge across decades of hurt. When David and I returned to Seattle, I expected Jennifer and Marcus to ask how it went. Instead, I found a formal letter in my mailbox from both of them. They were hurt that I'd chosen to support David despite their feelings. They needed space from me too. That was 6 months ago. Now, standing in David's driveway on this September morning, I'm helping him move to a smaller condo in downtown Seattle. At 70, he's decided he doesn't need a big house anymore. Emma and her family are planning to visit for Thanksgiving, and he's excited but nervous about hosting them in his new place. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Diana, my best friend who's been my rock through all of this. "How's the move going?" "Almost done," I type back, feeling sad but also peaceful. "You made the right choice," she responds, standing by him. I'm not sure there was a right choice. I only know I made the choice I could live with. As we load the last box, David turns to me. "Rachel, I need to say something. I know you've lost your brother and sister because of me. I know what standing by me has cost you." "You didn't cost me anything," I interrupt. "They made their choice. I made mine. But you're the only one who still calls me Dad," he says, his voice breaking. "Jennifer and Marcus won't even speak to me. And it's my fault. All of it is my fault." I take his hands in mine, these weathered hands that taught me to tie my shoes, to throw a baseball, to be strong when life knocked me down. "You made mistakes, terrible ones, but you also showed up every day for me when my biological father walked away. You loved me when I wasn't yours by blood. You've spent the last year trying to make amends with Emma, facing the hardest truths about yourself. That takes courage. I just wish I could fix things with Jennifer and Marcus," he says. "Maybe you will," I say. "Maybe time will soften them, or maybe they need to stay angry for a while longer. Either way, you can't control their journey. You can only control yours." We finish loading the truck as the afternoon sun breaks through Seattle's perpetual clouds. As David locks the door to the house for the last time, I think about family and what it really means. Jennifer and Marcus believe family is about loyalty, about taking sides, about punishing those who've wronged us. But I've learned something different through all of this. Family is about showing up even when it's hard. It's about seeing someone's worst mistakes and loving them anyway. It's about understanding that people are more than their failures, that redemption is possible, and that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It just means choosing love over anger, connection over isolation. I am the only one who still calls David Dad, but I call him that with my whole heart. Not because he's perfect, but because he's mine and I'm his. Because he chose me when he didn't have to, and I'm choosing him now. Jennifer and Marcus may never understand. They may never speak to me or David again. That loss sits heavy in my chest, a grief I carry every day. But I've also gained something through this journey, a relationship with Emma, my sister I never knew existed, a deeper understanding of forgiveness and grace, and the knowledge that I can make hard choices and live with them. As we drive away from the house, David is quiet for a while. Then he says, "Thank you, Rachel, for not giving up on me." "That's what family does," I say simply. "We don't give up on each other." 3 months later, on Thanksgiving Day, my small apartment is full. David is there, of course, along with Emma and her family. Diana came too, bringing her famous pumpkin pie. We're a strange, patchwork family, built from broken pieces and second chances, but we're family nonetheless. As we sit down to dinner, Emma's daughter asks if we can go around the table and say what we're grateful for. When it's my turn, I look at the faces around the table, at this imperfect family I've fought so hard to hold together. I'm grateful for second chances, I say, and for learning that love isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. David catches my eye across the table, and I see tears on his face. but he's smiling, really smiling, for the first time in months. Later that night, after everyone has gone home and I'm cleaning up the dishes, my phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize, but I answer it anyway. Rachel? It's Marcus. His voice is tentative, uncertain. I know we haven't talked in a while, but I wanted to call, to say I've been thinking about things, about Dad, about everything. My heart starts to race. I'm glad you called. I'm not ready to forgive him yet, Marcus says quickly. I'm not there, but I've been talking to a therapist, and she's been helping me understand that maybe cutting him off completely isn't the answer either. That maybe there's a middle ground. There is, I say softly. There's always a middle ground if we're willing to look for it. We talk for almost an hour. Marcus asks about Emma, about how David is doing in his new place. He doesn't commit to anything, doesn't make any promises, but he's talking to me again, and that's enough for now. When I finally hang up, I stand at my kitchen window, looking out at the Seattle skyline, the city lights twinkling against the dark November sky. I think about how far we've all come. David facing his past and trying to make amends. Emma finding the courage to let him back into her life. Marcus taking the first tentative steps toward reconciliation. And me learning that being a family means holding space for everyone's pain, everyone's anger, everyone's journey toward healing. Even when those journeys look different, even when they don't move at the same pace. I'm still the only one who calls David Dad without hesitation or reservation. But maybe, just maybe, I won't always be alone in that. Maybe one day Jennifer and Marcus will find their way back too. And if they don't, well, I've made my peace with that. Because I've learned that you can't force healing or forgiveness. You can only offer love and wait. You can only be faithful to your own heart and trust that it's leading you the right way. I chose to stand by the man who raised me, flaws and all. I chose forgiveness over anger, connection over isolation. I chose to believe that people can change, that redemption is possible, and that love is stronger than disappointment. I don't regret that choice, not for a single moment. Because in the end, family isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. And I'm still here, still showing up, still believing in second chances, still calling him Dad.